I'm Aislinn Green, and this is Unpacked, the podcast that unpacks one tricky topic in travel each week. And in this special bonus episode, we are exploring the organizations that are making the travel world a better place. Afar launched the Travel Vanguard in 2016 as a way of celebrating those organizations. And today, we will be talking about the 9 winners of the Afar 2025 Travel Vanguard. Our guide is Ellen Carpenter, a writer and editor based in New York who most recently was editor-in-chief of Hemispheres, the late in-flight magazine for United Airlines. Ellen interviewed each of the 9 winners on the list, and that list includes the first designated autism-friendly beach destination in the United States, as well as the cruise line bringing medical care to remote regions. Ellen shares what these organizations are doing, how they've made an impact on the world, and how they inspired her future travels, and how they might inspire yours too. Ellen, welcome to Unpacked. It's so nice to have you here.
Thanks so much.
You worked on this package that has a name that I think we don't use this word very often outside of retirement planning, the Afar Travel Vanguard. So what is that exactly, and why is it meaningful?
The Afar Travel Vanguard is a way for Afar to honor travel companies that are doing something tangible to make travel a force for good. And Afar was really built on this mission, so it's very near and dear to the company.
Amazing. Why the focus on organizations rather than individuals?
Yeah, so in the past, Vanguard has honored individuals. I think, or one of the first couple years, they had Jose Andres, for example. But this year, they decided to focus on companies and destinations. I think knowing how many people it takes to really make a difference.
So it was really inspiring to read through all of these nominations because it's so often that we hear the negative news, right? And here are these organizations that are doing fantastic things on an organizational level. So what was your kind of takeaway from this? And what was your mindset going into it?
I mean, just inspiring to start off. First of all, there are more than 100 nominations this year. And I think like 117, something like that. And we really kind of wanted to focus on companies having an impact, but in different ways, you know? So from a sustainability standpoint or an inclusivity standpoint or from an economic support for a community. And so the more I read about these companies and then got to interview the people, I was just really blown away by just the joy these people have in the job that they're doing and the pride and significance, knowing that what they're doing is actually changing how we travel and changing communities is pretty awesome.
Were there any that stood out to you in terms of, we'll link to the full list in the show notes, but that you really felt like, oh gosh, this either aligns with something that's really important to me or was surprising in some way?
I think one of my favorite conversations was with Keith Sproul from Abercrombie & Kent Philanthropy. He's been there for like 10 years now. And yeah, I think that when I said before about joy, like the joy he had for his job was palpable. And he was just so excited to talk about the work they're doing, like with schools or they have a program called Cycle of Giving, which helps women across Africa and Jordan become entrepreneurs by starting their own bicycle shops.
Very cool.
And it was just so cool. And you think about I don't know, I knew about Abercrombie & Kent, but I had no idea that this philanthropic arm was such a huge part of their DNA. And that every trip someone books, they're giving back to these communities. And that's pretty powerful. And then also knowing that as a guest, you can go out and meet people, see these communities, actually have an impact. That might be even more exciting than seeing lions. Yeah. The fact that you're helping install a life straw filter for a school so these kids can have clean water for 5 years. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool.
I want to go back to kind of the size of the list because you mentioned 117 something nominations. That's a lot. So how did you go about culling that list, narrowing it down, deciding who of all of these fantastic companies you want to really identify?
Yeah, I mean, they had a whole team of editors at Afar look over all of these nominations to break them down. And then everyone went through and voted on which ones they thought were having the biggest impact. And I think one of the main criteria was finding companies having an impact across all the different ways they could be helping. So focusing like Myrtle Beach, focusing on inclusivity, and Paul Gauguin Cruises focusing on, bringing medical care. So like all of these companies are doing something different, but also all the same because they really are impacting these communities and really helping people.
And so is that what you would say, since all of these companies are very different, is that the common thread?
Yeah, I think community is the common thread for sure. You look across all of them, like Destination Canada, they had this program called the Tourism Corridors, and they're basically trying to make people think of Canada beyond just Quebec or Toronto.
Yeah.
And it seems there's so much more to this giant country to explore. And by exploring it, they're helping these smaller communities that maybe don't get the tourism dollars, and so they're helping them build infrastructure, like all of that. So it's focused on the tourist having a good experience, but it's really focused on these communities and making them stronger. And same thing with like the Sandals Foundation, like they are all about uplifting the Caribbean communities that they serve. Quark expeditions, they have a program called Tundra to Table, which is about really teaching people about Inuit food and culture, but it's also supporting the Inuit communities and helping them tell their story and making people understand them and like their hunting practices or their harvesting or anything, just their culture in general. And so I think all of these really are community focused at the end of the day.
One of the things that jumped out at me in the Destination Canada, at least the write-up, was that they are really working to make sure that communities want tourism. Would you say that's a secondary focus for a lot of these companies, is really getting that local buy-in?
Oh, for sure. I think that's key, and I really love that about the Destination Canada's approach is that the communities are applying to become one of these corridors. So they have to want it. They have to make sure they have the infrastructure for people to come, but they want to be able to welcome them. And I think that's pretty neat. And I think that too, and both with Abercrombie and Kent and with Sandals, for instance, I think a lot of times in the past, people would go on a trip, maybe on a safari, and they want to go see a village.
Yeah.
Or they want to go see kids in this school. And and you're not coming just to look at people. Like if you're coming, you should have a purpose or make an impact. And the community should want you to be there. And so by coming, like Sandals has a program called Reading Road Trip. And so instead of just going and seeing kids, I don't know, in their school, you get to go and read to them to help with literacy efforts in the community, which is really neat, and I think that's like a cool way to involve guests, but also let them see that they're doing something.
It sounds like there's more of a sense of reciprocity, like it's not just a voyeuristic endeavor. Did any of the people that you interviewed talk about an increase in travelers wanting to know this kind of information or wanting to participate in these kinds of programs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think across the board, and one we haven't discussed yet actually is Tourism Cares. Their whole focus is sustainability in travel, whether that's like from an economic standpoint to cultural to eco-friendly, all that stuff. But they launched a meaningful travel map, a global map, because I think they really saw a desire. People wanted to connect with communities. They didn't want to just stay at a nice hotel and go to the spa. They wanted to have a meaningful experience. And they first started that with a map in Jordan. So travelers could go learn about weaving from Jordanian women, or they could learn about cooking, or they could learn about just their culture in general, rather than just going and looking at Petra, And so now they've launched it, and they have I think more than 30 destinations around the world that are putting vetted places on these maps. So either tour groups, like bigger tour groups who are planning for lots of travelers, or individual travelers can go and see way they can have a more meaningful trip themselves that is meaningful for them, but also for the people and places that they interact with.
And the idea of making it easy, we do so much on our phones and people are booking trips so quickly. So I think taking out some of those friction points, so it's easy to be sustainable or to be community focused or whatever it is. Well, there were also several DMOs on the list, which was really neat to see. And as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, it was really nice to see Fort Lauderdale on there, given the news that came out about Florida and it kind of quietly sunsetting all of its LGBTQ plus content on the main tourism board. Could you tell us a little bit more about what they're doing and why they made the list?
Yeah, so Fort Lauderdale was the only destination marketing organization to speak out about this when Florida removed all of their pages from their site about LGBTQ plus travel. And I mean, good for them.
Yeah, I know. I was really...
It's crazy that people didn't speak depressing out. And Fort Lauderdale it's always been an inclusive community, especially for LGBTQ people. They actually had the country's first gay beach resort open there in 1972, which is the same year that the Stonewall National Museum and Archives opened there, the city has tons of queer events. Like their Pride is a huge deal. I think this summer is going to be their 25th anniversary. And unlike the state of Florida now, their tourism board, the site has plenty of pages highlighting queer-owned businesses and events and like just really celebrating everyone who lives there. It's a very diverse community, and they're really happy to highlight that and to welcome everyone.
Kaylee Cuoco and Sam Claflin star in the MGM Plus original series, Vanished. When the man Alice loves disappears on a train to the south of France, every romantic memory becomes evidence. Every intimate detail, a potential threat. She thought she knew everything about him, but she may not even know his real name. 4-part thriller Vanished premieres February 1st on MGM Plus. Finding the truth is a dangerous affair.
You mentioned Myrtle Beach earlier and its kind of inclusivity efforts. And I was there earlier this year for an episode of Unpacked and met with Stuart Butler. And I was really impressed with how thoughtful their program to focus on, autistic travelers. It's so smart. Could you just tell us a little bit more about what they're doing and why?
Sure. Yeah, I really love talking with Stuart Butler and finding out about all the work that they're doing there to become autism friendly. And so basically they became autism friendly certified, which means they're having businesses who are in the hospitality space kind of go through training on how to better serve and understand people with autism. And those things can be small, like at a restaurant, they might bring out to-go boxes as soon as they bring the food. So in case like a child just needs to leave right then, they can leave. And little things like that make a really big difference for families. Travel can be super stressful for all of us, and especially stressful for people with autism. One thing that they're doing, or actually it just premiered, is they're having their own series on Peacock called Traveling the Spectrum. And it's following 3 autistic families on their trips to Myrtle Beach. And I think this is the first time a destination has created a TV series for a major platform like this. And it's so inspiring. Like even just the trailer will make you cry. I swear to God. It really shows you how important and life-changing even just like a simple trip can be for a family who maybe hasn't been able to experience that because they've been too scared from the stress, or they've been scared by how people are going to react to them. And by making that just a more accommodating and inclusive and loving space, like, I think it's life-changing for people.
Well, then there was that statistic about do you remember it off the top of your head, the number of families that with autistic children or family members that don't travel?
I think it's 87%. And that just makes me sad, So I love that they're really focusing on trying to change that. And there's other destinations across the country who also were autism certified through other programs. And I know this is like something that's really growing. And I think that's something Stuart Butler said was like their goal is to inspire other destinations to do what they're doing, to make it so they're not standing out for this. They want everyone to be doing this, which is cool.
Yeah. Are there any other destinations that we didn't talk about? Oh, the Swisstainable.
Yeah.
Will you tell us more about the Swisstainable tagline?
Such a fun tagline. So Switzerland Tourism launched this initiative called Swisstainable. And Switzerland, you think of Switzerland, you think of, mountain peaks, you think of like these gorgeous blue lakes that look like they were photoshopped. So nature is a big deal in Switzerland. And they already have one of the most broad rail systems in the world. They have sustainable, food is already a big thing. And so they're making it easier for travelers by having businesses, same kind of idea as with Myrtle Beach and having businesses be certified autism friendly. These are being certified Swisstainable. So there's 3 levels that the businesses can pledge, whether it's like they're starting out, they're going to be more eco-friendly, or they're going to be doing this, and ones that already are, and ones that are like, winning all the prizes by being Swisstainable. But they make it really easy for you to find hotels that are doing this, restaurants, tours. So you can have like a sustainable, eco-friendly, economically beneficial, culturally impactful like vacation, which I think is really important.
That's interesting. What are some of the ways that they're helping travelers actually experience these businesses and places and put all this into practice?
Yeah. One thing that's great is they created these 13 3-day itineraries that go with Switzerland's 13 tourism regions. And so they give you basically suggestions on what to do, but then also, sustainable certified hotels that they can stay at and restaurants they can go to. And a lot of them are very nature focused, activity focused. Like you might be, bike riding around one of these gorgeous lakes or hiking. Like there's this place I read about called Dala Gorge that looks awesome. You should hike around that. And there's this new barefoot trail, which sounds so storybook. I love it. Like you literally take off your shoes and socks and walk on like
really?
a little path lined with pebbles and moss
God.
and really
That's
experience
amazing.
nature. It's so adorable.
Yes.
So I think having all of those ideas in one place is super helpful for travelers, because I know for me, like there's so much out there and it's really hard to decide what's the best trip to take.
Yes, I love anything that makes travel planning a little easier. One of those things that can make travel planning a little easier is actually booking a cruise. And there are, as we talked about, a couple of cruise lines on the list. Will you share both of those and what it is that they're doing?
Paul Gauguin Cruises, they have a cool initiative they launched last year, which basically is providing medical assistance in French Polynesia, specifically the Marquesas, which actually just got named a UNESCO World Heritage Site this past July. But they're some of the most remote islands in the world. And because of that, like getting medical attention can be hard. Like one of the islands has a hospital. The other islands either have nursing stations or first aid posts or smaller medical centers. But Paul Gauguin Cruises realized what they have is doctors. And so when they stop in these ports, their doctors can come on shore and see patients or assist nurses if nurses need some help. People can use their onboard X-ray machine, their ultrasound machine, like that kind of thing that some of these islands don't have access to. And they also are having doctors from, like, say, Tahiti or somewhere go on the ship for free to the islands if they are needed to come in for exams and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, amazing.
And it's still like a small initiative. It's only a year old, but they realize the impact's been really great. And so they're going to keep doing it. And then Cork Expeditions, we touched on briefly, they launched a program called Tundra to Table, which is a way to showcase, honor, celebrate Inuit cuisine and culture. And they partnered with a group of Inuit chefs called Igapal. I hope I'm saying that right. And I spoke with Mickey from Igapal, and he was such an awesome dude. I mean, he's a chef, studied all over, cooked all over, but he came back and was like, I want to showcase Greenlandic cuisine. I want people to understand what we eat. And, I think so many places across the world now, there's Pizza Huts and McDonald's everywhere. And it's like, that's not their cuisine. And he was seeing that happen in Greenland. And so he really wanted to focus on telling people, like, this is what we eat, and this is how we cook, and this is how we hunt. Hunting is a big part of their culture. And so the cruise line partnered with them to teach their guests, what that looks like. And so they do these special dinners. Then they sit down, they talk about the food, they kind of have an impromptu Q&A. And they also then go on excursions with the guests. Maybe they'll act as translators, maybe they'll go introduce them to community members. And that's been a really great for the guests, but also, he said, for him, like getting to meet more people in this community and learn about what people are doing or cooking. Like he, is from Greenland, but they also go into northern Canada. And he said it was really cool for him to meet people from there and realize how many similarities they had. And I think the guests have just really enjoyed this. They've benefited from it. They've tried new things. Like some of the food's a little out there.
Like what?
Like musk ox, for instance.
Wow. I wonder what that tastes like.
Yeah. They don't serve seal on board or whale, but a lot of the guests do want to try it. So then he'll help them find someone in the community where they can go and try it. Because it is, for them, it's just a way of life. Hunting is, it's something they really respect the animal. They use the whole animal. They're not hunting for sport at all. Like that's crazy. The idea of hunting is for sport. So it's honoring the animal, and by eating the animal and using all of the animal, you're respecting it.
Well, such a diverse list. And some of this is obvious in terms of like travelers actually taking this list and using it to shape their 2025 travels. But is there anything that you would like to add to encourage people to help use the list, or that you in particular are going to be doing now that you've done all this reporting?
I think one word I always think about when people are talking about trips and travel is deserve. Like, I deserve to take a trip. I deserve to go on vacation. And that's something that I feel like we have to just throw that aside. We don't deserve it. And when we travel, we have to remember that our trips, they don't just impact us. Like they impact the places we go. They impact the people we meet. And so I think travelers are getting more and more savvy and wanting to have experiences that are really kind of situated in a community or in a place. And like experience has been a buzzword for a long time now. But I really do think that when people are planning trips, they just really need to think about the impact that they're having and the choices they make, how those choices are impacting the people that they're around and the places they're around.
And hopefully the more that we have lists like the Travel Vanguard, the more organizations will want to be a part of that, right? Like travel is a force for good and all of those positive changes. So it's a very cool way to kind of think about like, oh, what could I do this year that might involve one of these, like tourism cares would be an easy one to tack on to a vacation you already have planned. So
yeah. And I think that speaks a lot. Like you're talking about how more and more companies are making this a priority. And you think back, like Afar started Travel Vanguard in 2016. Every year there's more and more companies, there's more destinations, there's more people to honor, because people are realizing how important it is to change how we travel.
And that was the Afar 2025 Travel Vanguard. We've linked to the full list in the show notes so you can read more, and we've also linked to Ellen's website. We'll be back on Thursday with our regularly scheduled programming and our last episode of the year. Ready for more unpacking? Visit afar.com and be sure to follow us on Instagram and X. We are at Afar Media. If you enjoyed today's exploration, I hope you'll come back for more great stories. Subscribing always makes that easy. And be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast platforms. It helps other travelers find it. And if you ever want to ask a question or suggest a topic for coverage, you can reach out to us at afar.com/feedback or email us at unpacked@afar.com. This has been Unpacked, a production of Afar Media. The podcast is produced by Aislinn Green and Nikki Galteland. Music composition by Chris Collin. And remember, the world is complicated. We're here to help you unpack it.